The purpose of this live stream is to talk about mental health and mental illness. It's about normalizing mental health and conversations about mental health and mental illness. Not enough people talk about it. What I mean, we need to talk about it more, and we need to be more engaged with it from the perspective of everyone has issues. We all need to work on our mental health. We all need to be working on our degree of mental illness, because that's what we need in our culture more, is dealing with what's in our head. Because if you can see from the polarized world we're living in, something needs to happen, people. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me tonight. This is Dr. Stephen Walker doing my twice a week mental health live stream, which is down to once a week just because of the realities of being a frontline mental health provider, trying to do what I can to help people with their mental and emotional suffering. So I try to get on, take questions, talk about mental health, destigmatize the process of health and mental illness, when in reality there should be no stigma, because it's just ridiculous that there's a stigma. So I want to remind everybody of a few things before we get started. Please remember to visit my website, helpahuman.org. Okay. Why is it important? Well, it's important because this is a fund I've set up where you can donate directly into it. Maybe you don't want treatment. Maybe you don't care about getting treatment, but there are a lot of people who need treatment who can't afford it. And this is a fund I can use to either pay for their treatment or pay for their treatment with another provider. So everything gets donated into that and used, or not donated into it, but donations into it get used to help people with their treatment. Okay, don't forget to visit our sponsor, betterhelp.com/Dr. Walker. You're not going to work with me, but if you put in betterhelp.com/Dr. Walker, you can get a discount on a membership with them, and they have thousands of mental health providers waiting to help you out. So tonight's topic is how to know who you are. Okay, you might be thinking, I know who I am, dude. I don't need you to tell me who I am. Well, you may know who you are, but you may be identifying with a you that you're used to identifying with, as opposed to the real you. So again, please remember, everybody, ask a question or make a comment. I'm doing these live. They're raw. They're not scripted. They're not polished. This is raw live video in order for you to engage with me, a licensed mental health person, about anything that's on your mind. This phone number right here, it's always reversed. You can call me while I'm on, talk about what's on your mind. I'll feed it right into the microphone, and we can engage about mental health or mental illness. You can talk about whatever's on your mind. Those of you who have never been on my YouTube page, I want to just go through a little bit of the content here for you. Tons of stuff on here. We're about to break 8,000 subscribers, which is wonderful. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Helps us get our videos shown more. I've got content here going back. I've interviewed multiple mental health people. I've talked to different people. I've found that the interviews are okay, but it kind of distracts me a little bit from getting to the core of what I want to talk about. Did some media interviews here. This was on childhood abduction trauma, violent videos, how to manage coronavirus. These are all a local TV station in Tampa. This is a talk I did. So, and you can see the dates here. Some go back as far as 5 years. You might hear some things that you hear other people saying now, and it's very interesting that they're saying it now. So give it a look-see if you want. But again, remember, everybody, this is a live. Hey, Penny, how are you? Hey, Rhea, how are you? This is a mental health live stream to talk about mental illness, to talk about mental health. We all have a degree of mental illness, just like we all have a degree of physical illness, but we need to talk about it more. So let's get to tonight's conversation. Oh, and by the way, you have an issue with something I've said online, you have an issue with one of the videos, posting a little flame, like somebody posted something the other day about psychology and I posted back and didn't hear from them again. Hit me up while I'm live, talk about what you have an issue with. And we, if you care to go live, we can debate about whatever you want. Otherwise, little flames on my posts or on my videos are really kind of infantile unless you want to back it up. So feel free to chat about, again, whatever's on your mind. If something's troubling you, if you have a question about mental health or mental illness, if you've thought about getting some mental health help and oh no, I can't do that, I can't talk to someone about my problems, you can talk to me while I'm online about it, and we can talk about whatever you want. Because like I said before, I start with a topic, but the whole idea is to get people engaged with what's on their mind. So if you're depressed about something, if something's on your mind, if you've been thinking about something, anything that you want to talk about, anything, it doesn't even have to be about mental health or mental illness, you feel free to shoot me a question. Or if you're brave, there's the number. There's the number. Anyway, so let's talk about how to know who you are. So if you have followed any of my live streams, or if you've looked at any of my past live streams, you'll see that one of the common themes that I'm trying to do is to show people that what in my 25 years of doing this, what aids mental health and what creates more mental illness. Okay. So if you think about going back to some of the content on here, you'll see that there's different topics: how to heal with help, how to manage self-hate, how to manage excessive thinking, how to transform yourself with Dr. Nick Fortino, how to develop empathy. All of these, this is a good one. This is one that I did 11 months ago. I should do this one again, how to get off your meds. These are all the ones I first did where we didn't have a lot of followers, so they didn't get a lot of views. But everything that I'm doing on all of these are topics that contribute to mental illness or can enhance mental health. Okay. All of these are the theme that I'm trying to get people to start thinking about is, gee, what is actually contributing to my mental illness? Your YouTube live stream is not on. That's weird. I don't know why not. Looks like I have one viewer from YouTube. Penny, I don't know what's going on. It should be on. Let me check here. Let's check to see what the heck is going on. You guys can watch me while I do this. This is what live is all about. You're right. No, it's on. It's on. Here we go. Here it is. One person. Yay, one person. Here it is. It's live. I don't know if you've got maybe you need to refresh your page, but try to refresh your page and see if that helps, Penny. But anyway, let's get into how to know who you are. Okay. So, excuse me. Somebody may be watching this thinking, I know who I am. I know I'm me. This is who I am. Well, the reality of the situation that I've found in doing this for many years is human beings tend to identify with that surface level of conditioning, that surface level of habitual thoughts and emotions that they have been so used to identifying with. So what happens is their self-identity is created around a belief system that was given to them by either their primary care providers. Society as a whole, cultural conditioning is a huge part of creating the imposter in you. And yes, like I said in my previous live stream on imposter, everyone thinks that imposter syndrome is one thing, when in reality, the true imposter is the conditioning that we live with. So when I say how to know who you are, we need to identify the you who you think you are. So let's take, I like to use racism as a perfect example of conditioning. So, or politics, or Republicans, or Democrats, or social, or whatever, hardcore white supremacists, or Black Lives Matter, or whoever over-identifies, in my opinion, with their conditioning. Let's take racism, for example. Let's say I'm not, because, I'm mixed race myself, but let's say I was raised to be a racist. My father or mother or whoever was raising me told me over and over, you're not going to you will not have friends with Black people, white people, whoever, purple people. So over the years, that gets inculcated into me. That gets drilled into me over and over and over. I start identifying with being a racist, or I start identifying with the belief system associated with supremacy. Or on the other side, I identify with the feelings of being a victim, or being a minority. This is exactly what I mean if you want to start identifying who you are. And it's not about racism or the merits or the negative aspects of racism. This is about raising your awareness. This is about becoming aware. Well, wait a minute, maybe this belief system I have about being better than everyone because I'm white, or that this is my country, or that I'm not allowed to feel what I'm feeling. Great, Penny, thanks. And yeah, last stream I lost the mic, and people tell me, please tell me, because like I said before, this is live. But when you identify with your conditioning, what happens is you lock yourself into a little box. You lock yourself into this idea that this is who I am, which then becomes what I've called before in another live stream, but what's called a confirmation bias. So you have a bias about who you are, and then the environment seeks out, or you seek out in your environment things to confirm that, or things in your environment come in to confirm that. Now you might be asking yourself, well, why is that important to mental health or mental illness? Well, let's think about that for a second. If I've identified with being depressed, if I've identified with being anxious, or if I've identified with being traumatized as a child, that becomes my self-identity. That becomes who I am. So then that's my filter. That's my confirmation bias. And then I seek out things in my environment that confirm that. So let's say I was sexually abused as a child, then, or as an adult. I am going to have a confirmation bias. I'm going to believe that that's who I am, because it's that trauma, that unprocessed trauma, that then mimics the real self. But the real self is under there going, whoa, wait a second. Maybe I'm not just that. Maybe I'm not the person that I think I am. The key, this is called existential psychotherapy, by the way. This is a form of psychotherapy, or a form of psychology, where you encourage the client, when you encourage the individual to ask themselves deeper questions about themselves. Viktor Frankl was he invented or started logotherapy, and I actually did my dissertation on him. Great book out there, Man's Search for Meaning. And it's not just man, it's human. But the idea is you want to begin asking yourself deeper questions about who you are and why you are who you are. Why is that important from a mental health perspective? Well, rule number one when it comes to helping people make changes, not rule number one, but if you're a believer in the scientifically validated form of therapy called cognitive behavioral therapy, and some people like it, some people don't. Some people say behavior therapy is everything. Change of behavior, you change your cognitions. Maybe. Cognitive behavioral psychology is the idea that you change your cognitions, you work on your cognitions, and that affects your behavior. Part of cognitive behavioral psychology, as I've talked about many times, is the ABCs of thinking. It's an acronym: Activating event is A, B is belief, C is consequence. So how that works is something activates us. We begin imposing a belief upon that activating event, and those beliefs have consequences in the form of feelings. So if you are blending that with existential therapy, you're getting the individual, you're beginning to start to think about who you are. Why do you believe what you believe? Why, where did that get put into you? Think about it on a societal level in this country. Think about the polarization going on in our country right now. I'm either a Democrat or I'm a Republican, and all them libtards are just tree-hugging socialists who want to give away money and open the borders. And then people on the left are like, oh, those Republicans are racists who love Ronald Reagan and they have no clue what they're talking about, and they're all Trump-loving, immigrant hating, gay bashing. And it just goes on and on and on. Hey, Dave, how are you? David, how are you? Good to see you. Glad you're on, my brother. Again, remember, everybody, please ask a question or make a comment about what's on your mind. If you have an issue with what I'm saying, let's hear it. Bring it up, okay? But please remember, this is a live stream to discuss mental health and mental illness, okay? This is not about me just talking. So please, if you have a question or make a comment, or if you have a question or make a comment, please do. So why is this important? Why is it important to begin asking ourselves on a more societal level, why am I the way I am? So let's take that. Let's take the example of the hardcore left-leaning liberal who believes that the only way to exist in this country is to have people believe and feel everything you're feeling. Or let's say you're hardcore right and you're believing that it's got to be this way or the highway. Or let's say you're a man who believes a woman doesn't deserve respect. Or let's say you're a woman who thinks all men are cheating philanderers. Or let's say you're a minority. Or let's say you're LGBTQ, whatever it may be. These identities, these egos that we identify with are actually, well, Rhea, what are you scared about? When you say I'm scared every day in the night, Rhea, what are you scared about? These identities that we overly identify become then something we have to fight to defend. We have to fight to defend these identities. And that's where the mental illness comes in, because anytime you're polarized, anytime you're on one side of the equation without allowing the other side of the equation to exist, you're going to be out of whack. That's why we in the mental health field work with people who are bipolar, people who are overly polarized. They have no way of regulating their emotions because they're too far on one extreme. Now, let's talk about that a second. Of course, there's right and wrong in the world. No one's going to defend pedophilia. No one's going to defend beating up children or beating up women or violence. We're not talking about things on the extreme. I'm talking about things within you that you are clinging to for a self-identity out of a fear of the unknown. And yes, I'm not going to lie to you. When you begin this process of trying to figure out who you are, it can be disconcerting in the beginning. It can be very disconcerting in the beginning, all right? The problem that we have is that people don't want to go through that insecurity in order to come out on the other side with a much more well-grounded, well-balanced sense of who they are. They believe that if they allow the negative or something opposite of what they believe, that they're going to lose who they are. But that's just not the case. I mean, the example I like to use is the researcher who spent their whole life trying to prove something, and they just cling to that and need to prove it and prove it and prove it without allowing what's called a null hypothesis to come in, which is the opposite of the hypothesis. Okay. David is saying most self-belief systems are based on personal experience, whether good or bad. It is the foundation of personal belief system. It is, bro. It is the foundation, David, of personal belief system. But the problem is some of those foundations need to be questioned. Some of those foundation, and I know you're probably not debating that, but that is exactly my point. The foundation of a personal belief system needs to be questioned. And in a mental health capacity, one of the things I see that drives people into doing some of this work is something happens that shakes that up. Something happens that completely shakes up their entire belief system, or there's been a series of things that have happened that haven't been dealt with that leaves them in a very emotionally precarious position. So David's absolutely right. Most of your personal belief systems are going to be made by experiences you have, whether they're good or bad. But the problem is that those good or bad experiences are not universal. So if I grew up in an inner city, or if I grew up in a particularly segregated part, or not segregated, but a part of a city or a part of a country where I only have experience with a certain amount of people, whether it's minorities or people opposite to me, I believe that through my personal experiences. And then that becomes my what's called a schema, but that becomes my internal reference point, which people, if you want to start growing and feel more balanced, okay? If you want to feel more balanced, you've got to allow the opposite of what you believe to coexist with what you actually believe. If this is a scale, how does this scale get balanced if I eliminate one part of it? And everyone thinks, oh, you go up. No, you don't go up. You've got to begin allowing for contradictory information into your mind that then shakes up a little bit of who you think you are. Now, you might say to yourself, well, dude, that's going to cause me to doubt myself. In the beginning, it does. In the beginning, you begin to think, well, wait a second. If all purple people aren't bad, then, well, geez, I've spent my whole life believing that. What a waste of time this has been. Or my father or mother was wrong to tell me that. Yes, that's the beginning of the process. The key word there, good people, is it's the beginning of the process. It's the beginning of the balance, is to be able to question who you are. And an even, loftier part of that, I was going to put in the title, but I think it would have confused people, is who you're not, is being able to identify who you are not. That is even a deeper, more profound question to ask yourself, because mental health, if you think about mental health from the perspective of a wound on your body, okay, so let's say you have and I've said this before, you have a physical wound here, okay, and let's say, did I get a cut recent? Well, anyway, but let's say I have a cut here and I'm not treating it, I'm not working on it. It's going to start getting infected, and it's going to start pumping out infection into my bloodstream. Well, guess what, people? We have wounds up here that people don't want to deal with, people don't want to work on, people don't even want to fail. Oh no, dude, I don't want to talk about that. Why are we talking about that? I don't want to talk about that. Whatever you can't talk about, people, is what you need to talk about, because that's the emotional wound pumping out infection into your stream of consciousness, and that will then make you believe you are somebody that you're not. And I guarantee you this, depending on the severity of your wound, and most people have some pretty mild, moderate to severe. There are people with mild or very minor emotional wounds, but the majority of people have moderate on this end, moderate to severe emotional wounds that they haven't even dealt with, that are causing them to misrepresent who they are. I had a client today, we were talking about, this person made a comment, try not to identify male or female, but can't always do that, but obviously there'll be no names. But this person was talking about how they are a magnet for a certain type of person, okay? A magnet. And you may have heard that from other people. I'm a magnet for messed up women, or I'm a magnet for men who cheat, or I'm a magnet for this or that, okay? That's their belief system about who they are. How to know who you are. That's who they think they are. They think they're a magnet for unhealthy people. And I needed to clarify, in a back and forth way, not just preaching, but I had to clarify for this individual, this nice person who was working on their issues. You're not a magnet for unhealthy people. There are tons of unhealthy people. There are tons of people who are so unhealthy and have no clue who they are, that those are the people we tend to run into. And the analogy I drew for this person was, it's like jumping into a pool with sharks and then getting bitten by a shark and saying, well, I attracted those sharks. Yes, okay, you jumped into the pool, but you're in the pool is the point. You're not magnetizing people to you that are unhealthy or cheat or drink or whatever. This is the majority of human beings on this planet, especially in this country, who have unhealed, untreated emotional wounds, and we are running into them on a daily basis. Okay. I am from the school of thought that the percentage of people who don't have emotional wounds are the bell curve, remember this in statistics. Well, the outliers, those are the outliers. Okay. Those are the outliers. The bulk of us, myself included, until I did the work, and I'm still working on it. Boy, just get married and you'll see how, you still need to do the work, are in here. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with needing to do the work. There's nothing wrong with having emotional wounds, because you did not ask for them. You did not ask for these emotional wounds. So denying them is not going to help you. Okay. You've got to accept, that these wounds are in you, and you've got to work on them. This is why I encourage people that I work with. This is why I encourage people that I work with live, it's live. What can I tell you? To work on who they are, who they think they are. Question the belief system of who you think you are, okay? Because that will aid in your mental health. Remember, mental health is about healing. That's why heal is in the word health, okay? Healing emotional wounds within you that are causing you to misrepresent who you think you are. Okay, David is following. Okay, Doc, I agree. Changing personal belief systems are a pathway to growth. My experience has been, myself and others I've spoken with, has why did this happen to me? It's the individual reaction. Yeah. Those are people who have been abused, David. I don't know what you've been through, my brother. But when you say, why did this happen to me? That sounds like, there's something in there that happened to you that that's still affecting you. And that's okay. You didn't ask for it to happen to you. But that is what a lot of traumatized people ask themselves. Why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? What did I do to deserve this? They blame themselves for it. They think that, in a previous life, I must have been done something horrible that's caused me to live this life, or if my parents had only not had me, I wouldn't be dealing with this. These are all things you don't want to be saying to yourself. Okay. These are things you can ask yourself, why did this happen to me? But as long as you have a couple of answers for that, David, you have to begin seeing that whatever this is, happened to you not because of you. It happened because the person who happened it to you had issues. They had something in them that caused them to inflict pain on you. So when you say, why did this happen to me? You got to bring in some self-compassion there, bro. You got to bring in the ability to say to yourself, why did this happen to me? I don't know why. Maybe I may never know why it didn't happen to me, but why it did happen to me, or why it happened to me, is not because of me. That is not one of the answers. It's not because of me. This happened to me because the person who abused me or who caused me pain has issues with not caring. Okay, now has issues, has a narcissistic streak in them, and I'll say this on every live stream I can. Not caring is not healthy, and this society we're moving into is moving into this, I don't give an F and I don't have two Fs to give, and reading these stupid books written by people who have no clue what they're talking about. They're good writers. How the Subtle Art of Not Giving an F and all that is the most ridiculous book, because it's written by somebody who has no degree in psychology, and they're literally stealing, like all these people do, steal bits and pieces of psychology and use it isolated from itself. It's kind of like, okay, you know what? I'm going to tell you how to heal your tooth or your heart disease, and I'm going to take one small bit of treatment, and I'm going to say that that's the way you heal yourself. That's not the way. Not caring is not healthy. Okay, so whoever is out there thinking that the path to mental health is to not care, you're on the right road. You're on the wrong road. You're on the wrong road. Okay, but anyway, David is saying, Doc, what gave me a good attitude to the bad situation to life is why not me? I gotcha. Okay, well that's fine, David. I mean, if you have found a way to take a narcissistic personality, wow, you met my ex-wife. If you have found a way to move into post-traumatic growth from the trauma you've been through, then I'm all for it. But when a lot of people who I've worked with who have been abused, and Ray, I'm going to get to your follow-up. When I work with people who continue to say, "Oh, why did this happen to me? Why?" They're saying it to themselves in a way where they're making the victim of the abuse worse. Okay, because let's say I'm working with a client and they come in and they're talking about some abuse or there's something they want to go through, and all I keep saying is, "Why did that happen to you, dude? Why did that happen to you? Why did that happen to you?" At some point, we have to accept that it's happened to you, and we need to begin working on why is it still affecting you? What is going on with you that hasn't healed? Okay. So just to flip to Rhea is saying, I don't like anxiety. I don't know how to any steps. Well, I don't know why, and I don't know how to any steps. Well, Rhea, the first thing we need to work with you on, and I know, you've given me a little background, is we've got to start working on what you're anxious about. So not liking anxiety, from just what you said, that would be the first step I would encourage you to do, is you not liking the anxiety is fueling the anxiety. Because if you think about anxiety as in this hand, let's say I have your anxiety in this hand, it's obviously a negative feeling. In this hand, I have not liking or hating. If I keep adding hate to a negative emotion, it compounds a negative emotion. I'm not saying to love it, okay, either. I'm not saying, oh, I love being anxious, I love being scared. That's social media mental health. Just let it go, man. Live your best life. Don't focus on the negative, man. That's not what I'm saying either. Love, just the love is the answer. Sure, that's part of the equation. But the third option that I would encourage you to do, Rhea, for step number one is to accept the anxiety. Okay, you have to accept it. You have to begin working on it. We've talked about resources you can find, Rhea, to talk about some of the loss you've been through. That's the main, from what you've told me, sister, that's the main thing that's causing you to be anxious right now, is the wounds you suffered from the losses, the significant losses of people in your life. Okay, that's what's causing your anxiety, because untreated loss will develop into a fear of loss. So now all that loss you've gone through, sister, is sitting in you as unhealed pain, and you're afraid to lose more. So if you're afraid of the dark, guess what's in the dark? Something to hurt you, something to cause loss, something to cause pain. I'm going to keep telling you this, Ray, as long as you log on, and thanks for logging on again. You've got to access some counseling in your school or through a social worker, through your school, that you can start talking out some of that pain and just venting some of that, okay? You don't want this continuing as you're getting older. It's going to get more difficult to work on, Rhea, if you don't start working on it now. I can't say this with 100% certainty, but I can say it with a relative amount of certainty. The reason you're anxious is because of the losses you've had in your life. That is going to cause you to be in fear. Okay. Anxiety is magnified and prolonged fear, which, by the way, there's nothing wrong with fear. It's in us to protect us. But because we live in our culture, gotta kill the anxiety, you gotta kill the pain. Rhea, you need to get yourself into a situation where you can start talking about this, okay? And maybe you're not ready to face that pain. Maybe you're not ready to face that loss. And I feel you, okay? All I would ask of you is at your age, and you've heard this before, how you feel now is not necessarily how you're going to feel in the future. Okay, sister? It's not going to be how you feel in the future. You've got to try to start looking at Rhea in her late teens, in her early 20s, in her mid 20s. But to get there, we need to start working on some of that unhealed stuff inside of you. Okay. So try not to hate the anxiety. You don't have to love it, but you've got to accept it. And you've got to start asking yourself, what is this anxiety trying to tell me? What is this anxiety trying to teach me? Okay. And when you begin looking at negative emotion like that, you begin to allow for the possibility that post-traumatic growth can come in. Meaning there's post-traumatic stress disorder and there's post-traumatic growth. And post-traumatic growth is on not the opposite, but if you look at it as a continuum, post-traumatic growth is on the opposite end of the continuum, where you've grown from your trauma, you've healed your trauma, you've become better from your trauma. Okay. That's what post-traumatic growth is. All right. So let's get back to the topic before I end. How to know who you are. The key to finding out, one of the main keys that opens up a lot of healing, is talking things out with somebody, getting out some of this stuff inside of you that has been affecting you your whole life, getting through the process of facing the phony self, the imposter within you. The imposter within you is the pain, the trauma, the faulty belief system, anything that has caused you to feel that this is who and I hear this all the time. I'm the type of person. I'm the type of person who. I'm the type of person that. Whenever I hear that, when I'm working with anybody or on TV, I always think, or talking to anybody, I always think, well, that may not be the type of person you are. That may be the type of person you learn to be in order to cope with your environment, to cope with the world around you. Back early in my career, when I did my doctoral work in Hawaii and then moved to Portland, Oregon, and worked for a community mental health facility, Morrison Child and Family Services. Hey, great experience. One of the most incredible experiences of my life. But anyway, I worked at a juvenile treatment facility. And then when I graduated and got licensed, I then moved into working with the Oregon Youth Authority. Well, I actually wasn't licensed back then. I was working under somebody's licensure. But most of my clients were from the Oregon Youth Authority. And these were guys, most of them were men. I actually had the opportunity to work with female sex offenders. That's a whole nother conversation. But a lot of them were in violent offender groups. And these are guys who literally believed what they were taught, either by their gang, by their trauma, by whatever it may be. And this is exactly what I mean when I say you've got to spend some time figuring out who you are and who you're not. So those who wanted to change and those who wanted to do the work with me, this is what we worked on, is beginning to create an identity that was different from who they thought they are. And it wasn't even creating an identity. It was allowing that true identity come out that has been masked over by all their pain. I was working one violent offenders group, and this young man said, who was in there for assaulting somebody, an innocent person on the Max in Portland. Max is the public trend, like a overground subway, above ground, overground. Anyway, but I said, so XYZ, why did you attack and beat up that guy on the platform? And he said, because that guy had my money. And I stopped for a minute and I said, oh, you knew him and he owed you money? And he said, nope, but he had my money. And that's who he thought he was. That's the guy who thought that innocent human being with his own money actually had his money and he had to beat him up and get it. And this is what I'm talking about when I say to people, you got to spend some time figuring out who you are and who you're not. Okay, who you're not is the trauma, the conditioning, the pain, all of the crap that we go through as kids that becomes our self-identity. You got to work through that in order to find out who you are. That is the key. That was one of the keys to working on your mental health, is beginning to allow the possibility of, Well, maybe I can start looking at my belief system about who I am. Maybe I can start allowing for different possibilities. Maybe I am too extreme. Maybe I am expecting everyone to believe what I believe in order to find peace or happiness. And the minute you begin doing that, you begin questioning the faulty belief system. You begin the ABCs, remember, activating event, belief, consequence. You start questioning the belief system that tells you this is who I am. This is who I am. This is all I'll ever be. And that's the beginning of more mental health, more balance, more of an ability to be optimistic. People say that. I had somebody say that to me today. Dude, I'm not being pessimistic, I'm being realistic. That's an interesting statement, huh? That we've all said at some point until we question, well, wait a minute, why is optimism not real at being realistic? Why is it not realistic to be optimistic? I don't know, maybe because mom and dad were friggin' full of negativity and anxiety and taught me that don't get your hopes up, man. Don't life it. And this is what we need to work on, people. This is what you need to work on. You need to question how you were taught. I call it question your conditioning. You have to question how you were conditioned, question that basic core belief system that you think you are. That's what we need to do. And the only way to do that, not only way, one of the best ways to do that is to talk that out with somebody who can work you through that, who can work you through the belief system that you think you are. Because yes, you give me any individual who wants to change, who wants to question who they are, and they can absolutely make some change. Hardcore right, hardcore left, hardcore white supremacists, hardcore black supremacists, hardcore purple supremacists, whatever it may be. Anybody that wants to change and wants to explore how they got to think the way they do can absolutely make some changes, people. So I encourage you who are still with me live, to question how you were raised to think a certain way. Question how you were raised to feel a certain way. Question why you are the way you are. Get to know who you are and who you're not. We need to start breaking through some of this crap that is keeping our society back. The fact that we're still killing each other, the fact that we're still hurting each other, the fact that there are a group of people out there who genuinely believe that they don't care how other people think. They don't care how they affect people. This is mental illness that's growing in our country. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. Social media is fueling this idea of polarity. People say crap to each other online that they would never say face to face because they feel a sense of empowerment, a sense of safety. People, you need to start questioning who you think you are. You need to start allowing opposite parts of your belief system to coexist if we're going to find some balance as a society. We are headed down the wrong road. We are headed down the wrong road, and all of us are to blame. All of us who are allowing hate to fuel us, anger, hostility. And I'm not immune from that. I try to work on it. People who are hating stupid people who are hating people opposite to them. These are the issues that are going to make our society go down the tubes if we don't work on these issues we have within ourselves. Okay. Let's see. David saying, well, Doc, I had a great account of how I expected my wife and daughter to understand what I was trying to accomplish when it came to fixing our family pool. Yeah, I bet. I hope they did. I hope you got it fixed, because brother, if you have the capacity to fix your pool, hats off to you, man. I cannot fix crap. I am literally the most inept when it comes, well, I don't know, but I have no ability to work on cars, things. A few months ago, I had this big gash on my hand because I tried to friggin' cut a piece of a tree, and so good, more power to you, David. But that's what I'm talking about. I've accepted that. I've embraced it. I have no desire to be a home improver, person improver. That's a different story. Give me somebody who wants to work on themselves, and I'll do my best to try to help them. So anyway, thanks for all the comments tonight, guys. I appreciate you logging on. Please share this if you're watching this. I will not be on Thursday night. I can already see that, well, to be brutally honest, that's the kickoff of the NFL season. And I'm watching the Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So feel free. I'll be on next week. Hey, Bracy, how are you? Good to see you. I won't be on Thursday night, but feel free to send me messages and check out, my different websites. Here is my website. If you want to send me a message, feel free. This link here will take you to my YouTube page. Please like my Facebook page. Please help a brother out. Please subscribe. It helps us get our videos up there higher and people can start talking about mental health. And people may think, oh, dude, you're just putting on a show. This isn't who you are. Trust me. If you work with me, if you knew, any client of mine that sees this knows, yeah, that's Dr. Walker. All right. So please, people, just to close up. Oh, and don't forget my Help a Human Fund. Please donate into it. I can use it to help somebody who can't afford treatment. Helpahuman.org. Please, people, in closing, work on who you are, okay? Work on who you think you are, okay? Please, Theo, how you doing? Very good point. Solid perspective and guidance. Completely agree. Great, my brother. Thank you. Please chime in if you ever have a question, Theo, next time. I'll be on next week. Look for posts on YouTube or on Facebook. David to Go Brady. Man. All my friends in Tampa love Brady. Glad you're honest. Can we email you through YouTube? Sure, you can post something on there, or you can go to my website, Bracy. Here it is. You can email me through here. Here it is. So you can always contact me there. Yeah, I tend to be pretty honest. I tend to be pretty open. I when I went into this field, I wanted people to. I don't want to be one of those. How does that make you feel? Which is exactly why people don't get treatment, because they're used to that kind of nonsense. So yeah, everyone have a good week. I will see you next week. If anybody has any topics you want me to talk about or anything that's affecting you and you want me to do a live stream on it, if you want to be a guest and talk about something that's going on, feel free to hit me up on through my website and we will get you on. Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks for logging on. And remember, there's nothing wrong with having a degree of mental illness. We all have a degree of mental illness, myself included. Trust me. Okay. Trust me. I have my own issues that I'm constantly working on, but there's nothing wrong with that. That's my strength. That's like the sand and the pearl in the clam, oyster, whatever the hell it is that forms the pearl. You need that negativity to work on it, to have the perspective. Okay. All right, guys, please share this. If you like the message, if you like the stream, please share it. Help me pull some people in. And again, check out my YouTube channel. Please check out my YouTube channel. There's tons of content on there. There are things from years ago that you might find very interesting that you could share with somebody who's going through different stages of trauma that they may work through. Okay. All right, everybody. Have a good night. Have a good week. I will catch you next week and we'll have another good live stream. Remember, we need to talk about our mental health. We need to talk about our mental illness. We need to embrace it. This Simone Biles thing, great. It's okay to not be okay. Yes, we've been saying that for years, but it's not okay to not be okay and stay not okay. Okay, you need to work on it. It's okay to not be okay if you're working on it. All right, people. And there are many ways to work on it. Talk things out with somebody professional who can help you with it. It ain't as scary as you think it is. All right, guys, take it easy. Thanks for logging on, and I'll catch you next week. Look for, I usually post something on Facebook or YouTube when I'm coming on live. All right, thanks.